Welcome to Freedom Forum on the illustrious day of 10/11/2017.
Another day in Trump land.
Another day in America. That's what it's called for now.
Trump land.
Trump land. Well, it's been another interesting week. NFL, Trump's tax reform, and the kneelers. I'll get into that in a minute. Let's say a prayer. Lord, for me personally, I know that I had a whole host of angels with me on Saturday. I guess you just weren't done with me yet, and I feel blessed for that. I know that you're right now at a soft intervention in what's going on in our country, and more people need to start turning to you. We know not what the truth is in just about anything that goes on with the government and the people and everything around us. We know not who to trust other than looking to you for our strength. In your name we pray. Amen. We have the gun show.
Yep, this weekend at the Lafayette Event Center. Folks, we just had a mass shooting. We have Nancy Pelosi calling for all sorts of interesting things. And what have I been telling y'all all this time? To go get what you think you need.
Botox, by the way.
Well, what the NRA did is called sell us out.
Yes.
And I've heard a bunch of cuckoo theories. Oh, how it was strategy, how it was this, how it was that. For you people who think it was a strategy, let me give you a wake-up call. The NRA was created in 1871. They sold us out on the National Firearms Act of 34. They sold us out on GCA 68. They sold us out on the assault weapon ban. They sold us out on the Lautenberg Amendment, which allowed misdemeanor crimes, domestic violence, to allow you to lose your gun rights. They folded on background checks, and they folded on this. So folks, when y'all try to say that them caving on this bump fire thing, how is that about strategy when all they've ever done is cave? All they've ever done is sell us out. They are the most money-hungry vulture whores I've ever seen in my life. And folks, if you are an NRA member, you need to drop your membership and move on to Gun Owners of America or the JPFO, because they actually do what they're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Because what we just had happen, folks, now the next thing we got to see is what's Trump going to do.
Yep.
Because they can propose what they want. Trump has to sign it. And as Steve Bannon said, if Trump signs any gun control legislation, boop, he's done.
He's done one time.
He's done.
Okay, tomorrow night, the Acadiana Patriots are holding their monthly meeting at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Robichaud Center on Eras Landry Road, 1919 Eras Landry Road, Lafayette, right across the street from the Cox building. Our speakers, we have George Peterson, whom we had a nice conversation with last night in Kenner. George Peterson is a Louisiana-born conservative, political and civic activist from New Orleans, to say the least. Will be our speaker. He is a lifetime member. Oh God, I should have took this out. He's a lifetime member of the NRA.
We have lessons that we need to learn.
And founder of the Constitution Boot Camp. He is a member of the Greater New Orleans Tea Party and a host of the radio show Common Sense, which airs on Fridays at 5 p.m. on WGSO 990 AM in New Orleans. You can go to the internet and get on the WGSO website and listen to him. And I'll tell you what, it's quite a show. George will give us insight of what is really going on in New Orleans. Also, he said last night that he's working on talking about the culture, what the culture is today. Sarah Dake, the new Lafayette Field Director for American Prosperities, will be speaking. I haven't heard from any of these people, but a representative of the Young Republicans of ULL will speak if they show up. Get involved, get to the meeting, bring a friend, share this important meeting. Also, we are having a candy drive. And I was blessed last year to go to the Jennings Veterans Home and participate in their Halloween day where all of the veterans in the home sat in the lobby area in the hallways, and the Jennings people brought their kids, and it was awesome to see them out. Now, I will say this, that I think that none of those guys slept that night, because I think they ate as much candy as they gave out. But it was purely a blessing. So if you're coming to the meeting tomorrow night, bring some bag of candy or two for them. If you can't make the meeting, stop by after 5 o'clock until about 6:30 and drop off some candy. Because last year we ran out. We're not running out this year, I can guarantee you that. No, I didn't eat any of it. Well, a little bit. But anyways, it's a real blessing. I feel blessed because a lot of those guys that are in that home are the same age I am. And I've been blessed with pretty good health to get around and do what we do. So tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, the Robichaux Center. You really don't want to miss our speaker tomorrow night. We're talking grassroots. And we're talking Brett Jr. I heard the two of them talking last night. It's scary. Not really. I'm telling you, they'll lay it out for you, that's for sure. I was talking to Brett before we started tonight. We were talking about stuff which we usually do. I'm just so tired. I was on the phone with a former congressional person this afternoon, and we both we're tired. We're worried, and we're tired. And I'm just tired of millionaire football players kneeling and disrespecting the flag.
And the basis for it's a lie. That's the funny part. It's
Yeah.
all a lie. It's one big stinking lie.
But the whole thing is that what is it, Brett? 1,600 players in the NFL?
And about
850
852 are convicted felons. Roughly half of all NFL players are convicted felons. Convicted.
And see, what gets me is they're worried about social injustice,
They're the biggest-
oppression.
they're the biggest
police,
offenders.
The police, don't get me wrong, and I said this to Brett when we were eating supper, and I said, basically, there's some bad cops. There's some cops that abuse their power.
Oh, you mean like City Marshal Brian Pope?
Oh, no, he's a good guy.
Yeah, as long as he's not trying to unseal
just
your seal
ask-
divorce
just-
reverse.
Just ask Stoops.
Oh yeah, Stoops thinks he's great.
Hey, but I'm tired of it. I'm tired of hearing all this. Today, now, the NFL is getting hurt financially.
Well, I always said that once the money started becoming an issue and they started squealing, dollars or just, not coming in, those billionaire Bensons and Jones and was it Belichick or whatever is the coach up there for the
Yeah.
Patriots,
Here's the thing.
Big money
The
people.
players said if the NFL forces them to stand during the anthem, there's going to be trouble. You know what I said?
Fire 'em.
If there's trouble,
Fire them.
look, I worked for a large corporation. What do you think they would do if I protested publicly to the media during
Jim-
working hours?
But Jim, you missed the bigger picture. There are only 1,600 of these pampered yo-yo millionaires. There are thousands of high school guys moving into college with eyes on the NFL, and then the college guys are just salivating, waiting. You could dump the whole NFL right now and replace it tomorrow with all college guys and get them tuned up and not miss a beat. I guarantee it.
But see, I'm tired of these prima donnas, and that's what I'll call them. If you don't like it, too bad.
Yeah, and
Change the channel.
OJ was the worst of the bunch.
If you don't like it, change the channel. It's that simple. But the deal is, I'm tired of it. There's a place and a time to voice your opinion about the problems. There are problems. We will admit that. There
Well, yeah,
are
but-
problems.
Yeah, but here's the rub. Base it on the truth and not on a lie.
Right, exactly. And I'm about to read something that was written by Walter Williams and that I copied out of the, you want facts? You want the real facts? Let's look at Chicago. We just had a deal in Las Vegas. Was it 59?
58.
58, 59? And a point we're going to bring out right now, that last night that we were talking about on the way back from Kenner. They said there were 500 injured. But they said all these rounds were shot.
Yeah, something 3,000 something rounds.
And if someone knows how to find this, we would appreciate it.
They don't.
Here's the deal. How many people were shot? How many of those 500 that got hurt were actually wounded?
And with what?
Yes.
That's the other thing.
Absolutely.
I'd love to see the autopsy report and see what the rounds were because
But nowhere in any report, anything, has anyone said how many wounded people there were and how many. Look, you had what, 22,000 people stampeding out of a place? Somebody's going to get hurt.
well, Jim, we just have to
But
look.
how many got shot?
We just have-
I want to know.
We just have to look at the track record of the feds. They lied at Ruby Ridge. They lied about shooting a 12-year-old boy in the back, running away from them. They lied about shooting a pregnant woman in the head, and Lon Horiuchi, the sniper, was never prosecuted. Louis Freeh, the director of the FBI, lied and said that they did not give orders to shoot to kill anyone who even looked threatening in the compound. They went to Waco. They lied about that. Why is this any different? They lied about
Finnegan.
They lied about Fast and Furious too. Yep, and Lavoy is out there pushing up snow daisies.
So I'm tired of this. And you know, there's people right here in this building that would say I'm way off. I'm out of here. Look, if I understand more than some people think, because till I was 10 years old, I pretty much grew up. My father, I don't know why, lived in discreet neighborhoods. And I saw what went on in there, the gangs and all that stuff, growing up. And I grew up in York, Pennsylvania, and they called York, Pennsylvania, Little Chicago. Now you figure that out. The gunfire at night, you could hear the gunfire at night.
When you come to New Iberia and experience it, we got that right now.
Yeah, and Abbeville, you name it.
Oh, but the Berry is just
But
traditional.
here's the thing. I don't hear these NFL players screaming about Chicago. I'm about to read an article written by Walter Williams that's mind-boggling. I saw a comment where there were, let's say 57, 58 killed in Las Vegas. That happens every month in Chicago.
Yep.
Every month.
And by the way,
They have the toughest gun laws in the country.
The guy-
So it's not the gun laws.
the guy with the truck in England killed more people than that with just a panel truck. But we have the reason. Whenever you get finished with that, I'm going to read a comment by Mark Stein. We've got the reason why. He eloquently explains it.
They wonder why we people get upset. Jamel Hill at ESPN got suspended for 2 weeks because she disobeyed the tweeting laws at ESPN. But who was that? Kurt Schilling? The white guy
They fired him.
got fired.
Wait, that's the white privilege to get fired. You know, the white women that the NFL players hook up with get the white privilege of getting beat up and abused, and the white privilege is out there, you know. I don't see the white privilege. I see 852 NFL players, the convicted felons. How many times did they get arrested before that felony conviction?
But here's the deal.
That's the funny
Most of
part.
those arrests are for domestic violence.
It's not a felony.
Huh?
It's not a felony.
Yeah, but I mean,
No, it's
No?
not a felony. That's what I'm saying.
but
Domestic violence.
drugs. There's a guy coming off a 6-week suspension
Mm-hmm.
for what? They won't say. Huh? I have 2 articles written by black Americans. Note I said black Americans, because they're not African Americans. Sorry.
I agree.
I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble for this crap tonight, and I don't really care. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being called a white supremacist, too. I'm still trying to figure out how I got that name. Facts on police shootings of blacks. This was in the Advocate. According to the Washington Post, 737 people have been shot and killed by police this year in the United States. Of that number, there were 329 whites, 165 blacks, 112 Hispanics,
No!
24 members of other races, and 107 people whose race was unknown. In Illinois, home of one of our most dangerous cities, Chicago, 18 people have been shot and killed by the police this year. In the city itself, police have shot and killed 10 people and shot and wounded 10 others. Somebody should ask the kneeling black NFL players why they are protesting this kind of killing in the Windy, why they are not protesting this kind of killing in the Windy City and ignoring other sources of black deaths.
Because Soros didn't pay them
Right.
to address that.
Here are the Chicago numbers for the ignored deaths. So far in 2017, this is mind-boggling. 533 murders
More than Vegas.
and 2,880 shootings.
Way more than Vegas.
On average, a person is shot every 2 hours and 17 minutes and murdered every 12 and a half hours.
And I bet they didn't use a bump
And
stock either.
they give a link to where you can go to. In 2016, when Colin Kaepernick started taking a knee, Chicago witnessed 806 murders and 4,379 shootings. It turns out that most of the murder victims are black. Adding to the tragedy is the fact that Chicago has a 12.7% murder clearance rate. In other words, only 13% of the cases get
Solved.
caught. That means that when a black person is murdered, his perpetrator is found and charged with murder less than 13% of the time.
But you see, they don't get any mileage out of this because this is black on black crime and this is reality. You don't get any free stuff out of the white guy, the white liberal, for this. See, you don't get no free stuff.
Similar statistics regarding police killing blacks versus blacks killing blacks apply to many of our predominantly black urban centers, such as Philadelphia, which I can relate to, Baltimore, which I also grew up close to, New Orleans. Gee, this is 3 cities that I've lived fairly close to the problem. I haven't lived in St. Louis or Oakland.
And run by who? Democrats? Democrats?
The police force in Baltimore is what, 80%?
Oh,
black?
yeah. Oh, and they got hung out to dry by their own black prosecutor. So look at that.
Yeah.
Talk about black on black crime.
Many Americans, including me, see the black NFL player protest of police brutality as pathetic, useless showboating. One of the things that's not in this article, by the way, is that we found out Soros funded the Players Association in the NFL.
Gave them big money to do this.
$1.1 million.
Jeez.
Let's see. Why would they? Oh.
Does that make them whores that they'll do anything for a buck?
Idea.
Oh.
Seeing as these players have made no open protest against the thousands of blacks being murdered and maimed by blacks, they must view it as trivial in comparison with the police killings. NFL players are not by themselves. How much condemnation do black politicians, civil rights leaders, and liberal whites give to the wanton black homicides in our cities? You have to remember, this is Walter Williams, a black guy, that wrote this. Do you believe that would be just as silent if it were the Ku Klux Klan committing the murders?
Oh, they already call all of us Trump supporters white supremacists.
What's to blame for this mayhem? If you ask an intellectual leftist or an academic in sociology or psychology, we're not answering that right now. We'll call back in a little bit. Let me finish reading this. That's our boy. Huh? Go ahead. Well,
Finish reading.
what's to blame? The psychology department. He will tell you that it is caused by poverty, discrimination, and a lack of opportunities. But the black murder rate and other crime statistics in the 1940s and 50s were not nearly so high as they are now. I wonder whether you're intellectual, leftist, or academic would explain that we had less black poverty, less racial discrimination, and far greater opportunities for blacks during earlier periods than we do today. He'd have to be unrepentant idiot to make such an utterance. Just remember, this is a black guy that's writing this. So what can be done? Black people need to find new heroes. Right now, at least in the terms of support, given their heroes are criminals such as Freddie Gray, Ferguson's Michael Brown, Florida's Trayvon Martin. Black support tends to go toward criminals in the community rather than to the overwhelming number of people in the community who are law-abiding. That needs to end. What also needs to end is the lack of respect for and cooperation with police officers. And I've had people right here in this building dispute that. Some police are crooked, but black people are likelier to be victims of violent confrontations with police officers than whites simply because blacks commit, he doesn't say because they're black, commit more violent crimes than whites per capita.
Well, yeah, 90% of the population of the jail is black.
For a race of people, these crime statistics by no means flattering, but if something good is to be done about it, we cannot fall prey to the blame games that black politicians, black NFL players, civil rights leaders, and white liberals want to play. If their vision is accepted, we can expect little improvement of the status quo. This was written by Walter Williams, a black guy. Now,
You know, this is getting monotonous. Somebody needs to understand freaking English.
okay. Hello?
What's going on, my brothers?
Caller, did you
How y'all
understand?
doing?
Did you understand what Jim said in plain English, that we would take the call after Jim was finished reading? Did you miss that part?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Well, we're done now, but go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, go ahead. I call back. Go ahead.
But no, he finished
Well, I
reading.
finished
He
reading.
finished reading, you know.
Oh, okay.
What you got on that subject? We stay on the subject.
Well, I just wanted to say that if Roger Goodell and the NFL owners are racist, that means the NBA owners are racist and Adam Silver, the commissioner, is racist.
Of course.
Because in the NBA, you got to stand. You got no choice. Period. That's the rule. Okay.
And the funny part is they're all violating the affirmative action hiring laws, because the NBA is 90% black and the NFL is 70% black. And that is not within the hiring quotas mandated by the affirmative action laws of America.
Right.
That's the truth.
So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I know. It's just.
Yeah, I made that comment about the NBA at supper tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I said that you haven't seen any of this,
But caller,
and it's because they set the rules.
do you find it not an interesting coincidence that the people who are jumping up and down about yelling inequality and discrimination are the ones who get out of jail the most, beat their white girlfriends the most, make $1 million salaries, and get away with rape, murder, drunk driving at a rate 10 times that of me, you, and Jim?
Even in the college
I know.
level.
Well, look at
No.
USL. Look at the USL players under Hudspeth. They made that tape, and they were ranting on about Trump. What if a bunch of white players had done that about Obama? Oh my God, the FBI would have been here about a hate
Their
crime.
coach is liberal.
Well, of course.
Just a couple. I just got a couple more quick
Go ahead.
comments.
Yes,
on
sir.
it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You know, I was thinking about asking you and Jim maybe let me come on the show one night with y'all.
Okay.
And wait, seriously, and take these callers, the ones that y'all don't want to take. Let me take them, because these are some of the stained idiots
Fire away.
and numbnuts that used to call in and harass Mark Pope. Okay, but I promise you, I can handle them. All right. But then I
Okay.
thought, but then I said, no, seriously, this is not a joke. No, I'm not going to come on the show because I'll probably get your show canceled. Okay? Seriously, I'm not gonna do that. And my last comment is, and I say this all the time to y'all, sound like a broken record. Just when I think the left-wing liberal loons in this country can get any nuttier, what's wrong with you people? They've been pushing for this for years. They finally gonna get it, and I still can't believe it. The Boy Scouts are gonna take girls. What the hell is going on? Catch y'all next hour.
All right,
right, buddy.
see you later.
Now, I have one more, and then Brett's going to dig into this. This is written by Eleanor Ransburg. So just hold your calls here. Please hold your calls, because this is a guest column. Stunned that the NFL players think kneeling during the anthem an appropriate, effective protest. This is written by a black lady, Eleanor Ransburg. I don't blame Vice President Mike Pence for walking out of Sunday's NFL football game when he saw players kneeling during the national anthem. Good for him, she said. When Colin Kaepernick, well, idiot or whatever, knelt during the national anthem last year, it nearly took the eyebrows off my face. I also couldn't believe that distasteful socks he wore during practice, the ones that depicted police officers as pigs. The 49ers quarterback explained his protest, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in the flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than a football and would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder." Just talking about themselves. Oh, I didn't say that. Are you kidding me? Kneeling in a protest during the national anthem. The NFL game operations manual clearly states during the national anthem, players on the field and bench area should stand at attention, face the flag, hold helmets in their left hand, and refrain from talking, and it doesn't stop there. The home team should ensure the American flag is in good condition. It should be pointed out to players and coaches that we continue to be judged by the public in this area of respect for the flag in our country. Failure to be on the field by the start of a national anthem may result in discipline such as fines, suspensions, or forfeiture of draft choices for violations of the above, including. These are rules written in the NFL. So why didn't the 49ers put a stop to the first time it happened? Because you have liberal owners. You know,
And they're catering to the
Exactly.
blacktivist ideas and lies of their players.
the NFL is a business, and employers can tell you to keep your political views and protest to yourself when you're clocked in. And you're clocked in when you came to that stadium 2 hours before the game and put your uniform on. You are at work.
But here's the thing that people don't understand. They keep talking about the players' First Amendment rights. This is a private business. They are on somebody else's payroll and somebody else's clock. There is no other company in America that will allow you to do what you want to do against company rules and not sanction or fire you. You talked about GE. My rights as a state employee, not only could I not talk about this, could not have gone on Facebook, could not talk about any political candidate.
Couldn't even be on this show.
Correct. So I had no First Amendment rights as a state employee. I had none. So these people don't even know what the First Amendment's about. Yeah, you got the right to free speech on your own time, on your own nickel.
Here, see an ex-LSU Tiger, Eric Reed, says VP Pence's exit from NFL game looked like a PR stunt.
Oh, and what was Kaepernick kneeling for the anthem? That wasn't a PR stunt?
Wasn't a PR stunt? Nah.
That wasn't a PR stunt? Oh, and now he's unemployed working in McDonald's, huh?
It's no different for NFL players. When he donned that team jersey and walked on the field, Kaepernick was an employee on the company clock.
That's my point.
This is a black lady that wrote this, by the way, and I'm emphasizing that. Players are prohibited from doing all kinds of things on the field. For example, the Dallas Cowboys. Now, here's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys were not allowed to place stickers on their helmets last year as a tribute to the 5 slain officers. But, oh, never
Well, you know
mind.
why that is, huh?
If I just
852,
said what I was just thinking,
850
that guy was right.
852 of the NFL players have met the training position with the police, have assumed the position. That's why they're down on the police, because they righteously keep getting arrested like the
That's
pampered.
why they're kneeling, huh?
It's probably an improvement from face
And
down,
players
put your
have
hands
been-
behind your back.
And players have been fined for modifying their eye black during games to honor parents who died of cancer. Yes, we are supposedly living in a post-racial America, and team owners are actually allowing players to kneel during the national anthem. I have watched this lunacy playing out for a year now, and I am just stunned. This is a black lady. that
And this is
wrote
what we get from 8 years of Obama. This is what we get.
Oh, he empowered. It's amazing. Most fans stand because the flag means a lot to them. It represents America, the land we love. They know she has a checkered and painful past, but they also know how far she has come, and they love her deeply, warts and all. Interesting. This is really an excellent. If the coffin of your loved one was draped in a, oh God, draped in a flag that was reverently folded and presented to you before that coffin was lowered into the ground, oh, glory, meaning to you is indescribable. My family has one of those flags. I cannot imagine kneeling in protest during the national anthem ever. I received one of those flags.
I have a solution. If you don't like it, get on the slow boat. I'm sure Nelson Mandela will gleefully accept former NFL players in South Africa, and they can practice all their little communist, blacktivist activities, and they will be celebrated. Of course, he doesn't pay $1 million salaries for you being a South African communist,
Who
though.
in
so-
their right mind would choose that particular time for protest? How can the players not understand how offensive their actions are? And after slapping the fans in the face during a solemn moment, how can players possibly expect anyone to listen to, much less sympathize,
And then double
with
down.
any kind of political message they're trying to convey?
They've doubled down on this in a lot of places. They told the fans to go up yours if you don't like what we're doing. Really?
But they don't run the business.
Well,
They have stepped in it with this one big time. I've seen the videos of heartbreak on fans destroying their NFL gear, everything from pennants, t-shirts, caps, and jerseys to pricey bomber jackets, and season tickets is literally going up in flames. Everyone has a right to protest, but if you choose the wrong time and place for your protest, you run the risk of offending the very people you had hoped to win to your side. I've had debates about this with good friends and members of my own family who say the players have a right to say whatever they want whenever they want to. My response, go pull that stunt on your job and see how far you get.
and that's the basis of all of this, is that they are multimillionaire paid employees of the NFL, and they should have to toe the
They
line.
also say President Donald Trump made things worse with his suggestion that the players be fired.
Why?
I disagree, she said. Trump merely voiced that millions of fans were already thinking. Who wants any kind of politics showed in their face at a sporting event? There is a time and place for everything, folks, and this ain't it. This was written by a black lady named Ellen Moransburg. I printed those because I want people to understand. Not everybody agrees with this, and I've had enough of it. I've seen those flags on coffins in Vietnam. Not in America, in Vietnam. And then to see some dodo birds kneel and disrespect the flag of what I'm one of those people that went over there in a war that shouldn't even been, that I didn't realize until 10 years after I came back. And they disrespect this and they think it's okay. But they're making multi-million-dollar contracts. I'm not even going to make that in my lifetime, or didn't, because I'm 71. And spoiled little brats playing with a football. Grow up. Go help your communities.
Oh, no, they don't do that. They're out fathering 5, 10, 12 illegitimate children, doing cocaine, beating their white wives, their white girlfriends. No, they're busy.
I mean, you know, it's just, you can't, you gotta be careful, you know. I read these 2 articles. I didn't write this stuff. You wanna find where they are, I'll get it to you. Just look at the Advocate every day. I look at the opinion section, and there's so much liberal crap in there at times, but then there's articles like The Facts on the Police Shootings of Black by a very well respected, by the way, Walter Williams. Has always had my
And by the
respect.
way, he got those stats from the FBI UCR statistics. What people
Yeah.
don't know is every year, every police department organization in America has to turn in their crime stats to the FBI. They're called the Uniform Crime Reporting Figures. And they put it into a very large computer, and these are actual statistics that come from that. Now,
These aren't things we make up.
oh no, we couldn't make all this stuff up.
And we don't have the time to really do all that.
I got a really good article here that that was interesting, and it's from Mark Stein. Those of y'all who are not familiar, Mark Stein is a Canadian broadcaster who many times takes over for Rush. He has a very, very dry wit and is a very astute observer. And he talks about the motives of the Las Vegas shooting. And he starts off on Friday, Las Vegas Undersheriff Mick Mayhill told the media that the motive underlying Stephen Paddock's monstrous rampage remains a mystery. It's truly bizarre that after shooting, after a week, we have no insight, and da-da-da-da. And he goes into it that Paddock, though clearly morally empty and repulsive, retained enough lucidity to craft his deadly scenario with meticulous precision. He selected floor, room with maximum shooting advantage, smuggled guns, planted cameras. Stein pointed out in many ways that Paddock's actions were more closely resembling that of a professional hitman than those of a mass shooting of the type we've had in previous history. And the careful planning suggests that Paddock had a motive. So, if Paddock wasn't a paranoid schizophrenic facing a complete mental break, what message was he trying to send? We know now that he didn't leave a note, he didn't leave revealing internet search histories, didn't turn himself over to the police so he could enjoy his infamy. Is it possible he had no motive? But Stein puts out that a theory was sent to him on Friday by a reader whom he describes as a gentleman at a London think tank. And this reader's theory is interesting. It must be underscored that there is no hard evidence whatsoever that this was indeed Paddock's motive, and what follows is purely speculative. In fact, folks, we have no pure hard evidence that that guy is the one who did the shooting and that the guns pictured and the rounds pictured were actually used, because as we know, the FBI lied about Waco and Ruby Ridge and Lavoy Finicum and on and on and on and on and on.
Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Well, that was ATF. That wasn't FBI.
Well,
we were talking about FBI. That was ATF. That's a whole nother kettle of fish. Oh, yes. The emailer's theory is one of inception. What has everyone been talking about nonstop since Monday morning? Gun control. And why are we talking about gun control? Because of the sheer number of guns and ammos Paddock sneaked into room 135 on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel is astounding.
it would have needed a forklift.
As a result, the story immediately focused on guns. Were they automatic? What kind were they? How were they modified? Where did he get them? The distractions and storylines that typically arise weren't available in this shooting. It was a white shooter going after mostly white people at a country music concert. That means, as Stein points out, no shifting narratives were allowed toward white supremacy to draw attention away from the guns. Paddock seemingly had no political or religious affiliations. It wasn't triggered by a domestic dispute, it wasn't work-related, and it was not the result of a psychotic break. That only leaves the firearm narrative on the table. The police allegedly found somewhere around 47 guns between the killer's room and 2 of his homes. 23 were with him in the room, and by all accounts, large numbers of ammo left in the room.
Also, point out that somebody broke into his house
Yes, after the fact.
after the fact.
Stein's reader notes, Paddock
Oh,
spent
right.
days filling his hotel room with more weapons and ammo than he could ever conceivably use, along with an array of advanced modifications and accessories. But this begs the question, why spend all the energy and time sneaking all that stuff into a hotel knowing that when bullets start flying, he would not get the chance to use even half of it? The writer of the email quoted in the article believes the answer to the motive is publicity. Specifically, this man wished to telegraph to America in graphic form the hard, irrefutable evidence that guns and gun ownership and the ease of gun purchase in America are evil and must be controlled. And on that hypothesis, this whole incident makes sense. There is no hard evidence to support this theory, but one must admit these are the facts at hand from the pictures and from the information available. Stein's reader believes that Paddock did leave a message. It only happens to be implicit instead of explicit. That message is guns. And that message is trawled over every minute of every day on every network in America. Last week, Ben Shapiro wrote an article explaining Roy Baumeister's classification of evil in the world. It was a challenge lumping Paddock into one of the 4 types of evil, which made him even more unusual. If it is the case, however, that Paddock believed he was killing for righteous ends, this is clearly a sinister idealism at work. But if Paddock's goal was to shock the U.S. into banning guns or passing gun control, it means the bombshell answer explaining what drove a man to murder so many innocents is never coming. If it is true, it means that Paddock planted the seed of an idea that gun control is necessary that is already tearing through the U.S. like a cancer. It's an interesting theory, and they hope it's wrong, but it explains a lot of things, because you will notice throughout this whole thing, what was the one constant throughout this whole incident? The number of guns used grew. Then they found ampho fertilizer in the car. Then they found this. Then they found that. It's as if the initial lie was not good enough but had to be bolstered. Then we get to Fox. Chris Wallace is interviewing the NRA's number 2 sellout, Chris Cox. Is it right to use class warfare in the gun debate? And what they're getting at is that they were complaining that the majority of the elites that are complaining about wanting gun control have armed bodyguards with their own heavy weapons and live behind walls
Are they
in
automatic?
and palaces, you know. But Chris Wallace says, "Oh, this is class warfare." But it's funny for the NFL players to use class warfare. It's funny for Sharpton to use class warfare. It's funny for all the rest of the liberal causes to use class warfare, but not this. Amazing, you know? Amazing. And it says right here, Wallace, you know, is showing Fox's left agenda by trying to argue this stuff.
Hey.
Oh, fire away.
And back to,
Louisiana.
here we go. It doesn't stop. This came in my email. State Fire Marshal supervisors, Edmondson may have violated state ethics by accepting Compton French Quarter hotel rooms.
That's the first free hotel room he ever got, because the rest of them he paid on the state.
Well, do State Fire Marshal Butch Browning and his top deputies, including Chief Deputy Brant Thompson and others, prevail upon French Quarter hotel management to comp them in their entourage rooms when they frequent New Orleans nightlife, as often as several times a year? Browning and Thompson, through a State Fire Marshal spokesperson, said no. But certain employees said differently. But 3 independent sources say otherwise, and moreover, there are times the free hotel rooms aren't restricted to the French Quarter. Sometimes they are in such places as the New Orleans suburb Metairie and Jefferson Parish. And the free rooms often have little or nothing to do with official state business. Like, for example, free rooms for softball recruiters of one deputy fire marshal's daughter and softball tournament promoters. Employees of 2 French Quarter hotels have come forward to say that Browning, Thompson, and others come to New Orleans during Mardi Gras and several other times each year, and their rooms are comped at either of 2 separate hotels that Louisiana Voice was able to identify through sources who work at the facilities. Louisiana Voice is not identifying either the employees or the hotels that employ them because they fear for their jobs, but both say it's common practice for the hotel to provide free rooms to the fire marshal employees. Louisiana state ethics law have specific guidelines rigidly enforced against rank and file servants, but rarely, if ever, against elected or appointed officials, which prohibit the acceptance of anything of value as a gift.
Do as I say.
Which
not
would
as I do.
apply to you as a police officer.
And we were constantly hammered with that.
You couldn't even accept a free sandwich.
Nope. Nope.
Some examples taken verbatim from the ethics, and we know how Jim gets along with the ethics commission.
Oh, yeah.
right?
Staying with Louisiana news, Caddo Parish Sheriff Steve Prater has called out Dumbbell. You heard that? Dumbbell. Yes, I called him Dumbbell. Yes. For having the Justice Reinvestment Act. What is going to happen is this Reinvestment Act is to let supposed inmates out that are non-violent and non-sexual offenders that will save the state $17 million. Well, how about he stop the trips to visit the Pope, stop the trips to go to Cuba, and stop the trips going to London to watch the Saints play and covering it up as a trade trip.
Business trip.
Yeah, let's stop that. Well, the sheriff has another look at this. The sheriff says that 64 inmates are going to be released. One is a violent felon who has been arrested 32 times. Another one has 52 arrests and has been convicted of murder, but he'll be getting out November 1 of 2017. So, folks, when these inmates get out and start to kill people, if one of your loved ones gets victimized, you need to
Kinda
get on
like
the phone.
Obama did, huh?
Sure, well, birds of a feather release inmates together.
Let me get to the second part of this state thing.
Fire away.
It's one of our favorite people.
Oh, hit it.
It says, he said, whoever they're talking to, he said, former Superintendent State Police Mike Evanson and some of his top aides were also frequent recipients of comp rooms at hotels. And the guy retired with a 6-figure income. Go figure.
Yep.
Voice emailed Santos, Peller, and Thompson Brown to give them opportunity to address the claims, and while receipts were received from all, but Browning that indicated that had opened the email, none of the 4 responded. The only response was through a spokesperson who issued a blanket denial while pointing out that fire marshal personnel do patrol the French Quarter during Mardi Gras. She did not say why they were armed, since fire marshals are not police officers and have no duties other than fire prevention, and investigation of fires.
Maybe
That's
they were armed
another
because the
issue.
crime is so
They
bad.
were armed.
They were armed because the crime's so bad in the French Quarter, they got to be. They'll get mugged.
Well, here we are again. You have fire marshal and associates. You have
State police.
the ex-state police superintendent.
And I'm sure his higher-ups were there with him.
I mean, nobody got arrested. Some people got demoted,
That's nothing.
and that isn't anything. They didn't lose much pay. And
Now, you really want to get pissed off, Jim?
crime pays.
We have 11 Republican politicians in Washington that are open to gun control. And all of these people ran on Second Amendment, don't, from my cold, dead fingers, you can't take this. Okay. Now, we have some of the usual suspects. Governor John Kasich, Marco Rubio, Orrin Hatch, Lindsey Graham, Ron Johnson, John Cornyn, Carlos Curbelo, Mark Meadow, Kevin Yoder, Bill Flores, and I'm saving the Teflon turd for last, Paul Ryan, whose trust fund baby billionaire communist wife keeps his stones in a glass jar above the fridge, so he definitely marches to wifey's drumbeat.
Now,
Isn't that wonderful?
today I had a discussion because I saw an article that said that Neil Reiser paid $50,000 out of his campaign funds to 4 different black organizations in New Orleans. I got an explanation for this. Legitimately, those firms, and I don't have the facts yet, but I'm going to get them, because he'll have to file this in his financial report
To the SEC.
to the state. And here's what this scenario plants out. Conjecture. Go ahead, answer.
Go ahead, Goatman.
Yeah, them Republicans called my house this morning, wanted a little donation. So I gave them a piece of my mind.
Uh-oh.
Well, that was expensive.
I don't know how long he stayed on the phone, but I think you would have been proud of me, Brett.
I'm always proud.
I kind of like told him that they need to grow some backbone. They need to stand up for the Constitution, and the Constitution was not a living document like some of them people up there want to say it is.
Uh-huh.
That it needs to be interpreted by the way the Founding Fathers wrote it. And
Good job, bud.
he got kind of speechless on me.
There you go.
Did he give you a donation?
No, they don't. They didn't even want to come help me plant cabbage.
Oh, right. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's a hell of a thing. You try to get a little bit of help.
I know.
Yeah, but they want money, but I said they ain't getting a dime.
Oh, no.
Give
They
him the
don't
back of
call
your
me
hand.
anymore. I told them
I
was
don't believe they're probably gonna take me off the list now.
Good. Good.
Hallelujah.
I just thought when he was talking about the Republicans that want to do it.
Amazing.
Well, I got you 6 more made up, Brett.
All right. Maybe Friday. We'll see.
All righty. Yeah, I'm gonna make me up some for mine and
Bake you up
go
another
back.
cake. We'll see you about Friday.
Yeah. Okay. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take it
All
easy.
right, let me finish this. Explain how this can work. Okay, and this was by somebody that ran for Congress that explained this to me. So these 4 organizations are going to do consulting work for him.
You know what that really means? Translated, that means they're going to load all of their black voters up in buses and bus all of their voters down to vote
It's
for him.
Only conjecture now.
Well, that's what he's claiming.
Well, the whole thing is that he paid them to do something for him, but they don't tell him what they're gonna do, even though he consciously knows.
Well, Jim, do you think that because it's New Orleans that they may also contact Marie Laveau and she'll actually have the Night of the Living Dead rise up like Mary Landrieu did and vote for Neil Reiser?
Mary Landrieu's probably part of one of those organizations.
I would
Because she
suspect.
did a good job one year in her.
Well, yeah, where do you think we got the TV show The Walking Dead? They just filmed the voters.
But the whole thing is, again, and then I've been busy on Neil Reiser's page.
Irritating things.
You know what amazes me? They still haven't blocked me.
They might not be able to afford to block too many people because it might just inspire you to do more.
Well, I do more, but the whole thing is, and I said this, and I don't usually go after a candidate, but I'm tired of someone saying, I'm a conservative. And then you have people like John Ilario do a fundraiser for you, and you have the Black Caucus in New Orleans. And then one person came after me and said, you know, Jim, all this stuff is just conjecture on your part. And I said,
Well, you know, Jim,
here's what I did now. I said, okay. And I went and I got the link for the page on Facebook that said, Democrats for Neil Reiser. I cannot make that up. And you know what? I never got a reply. Amazing.
Well, they figure if they don't respond to it, they don't give you a target to strike at it again, it doesn't further the conversation. You know?
No, it didn't need to go further. Everybody saw what I put on there.
Well, but the theory is if they don't respond to it, the issue dies there.
Oh, yeah. But the whole thing is, I have a real problem when you're telling me, how can you be a conservative and you got the Democrats running your campaign?
But Jim, even worse than that, you got Ilario, who was Edwards' bagman, who's been corrupt, the model of corruption for
40 years?
40 years, yeah.
I mean, that's another one of those rules that needs to change. Once you're term limited in both of them, that should be the end of your career.
Correct.
We'll be back in a little bit. How much time? 10 seconds? And the second half will be just as interesting as the first half. Fun is fun.
Oh, yeah, we will continue going downhill.